work, so much character work, so much theater, so many movies, some television in their lives. And I'm sure they have a lot to tell, but it will be dependent a bit on your questions as well. As before, I will be walking among you to find these questions. But first, I see in your eyes that you understand how huge these people are that we are about to get on stage. So give them all the love, all the noise, and all the appreciation. John Rhys-Davies! And Paul! Here, Paul Freeman. Wherever you want to sit, please, if you want to stay standing up, that would be a bit awkward, but it's an option.
Good, let's make it awkward, shall we? How lovely to see you all. All you poor homeless people who've come out on this cold day, or come in from the cold on this cold day. It is a glorious thing to be here. And what a beautiful city it is, eh, Paul? What do you think? If I get down there, I'll never get up.
It's on. Yes.
It's on. Yeah, a beautiful city. Unfortunately, we've seen nothing of it whatsoever. But I look forward to coming back and getting a look around. Welcome to you all. What a lovely crowd of people. And all looking very clean.
Is that unusual in your lives for people to be clean around you?
I refuse to answer that.
You're talking to a man who's been so hot he melted.
True. Indiana Jones, we have the wrestlers beside, but they're not as loud. They're louder here for us than they are downstairs. I noticed this already. Would you feel like wrestling?
Would I feel like what?
Wrestling! Wrestling, yes.
With demons or what?
With demons, inner ones.
Ah, okay. Anyway, listen, before we get off onto that, I want to give my usual rant. How many people here know that the Netherlands has got a very important space program? Well, there are a few of you. You should all be very proud of it. It's called ESRON, and it is doing some of the most important instrumental and scientific work, both on the stars and the very nature of the universe itself. And I commend you. I urge you to have a look at it and really find out what it is doing and support it, for goodness sake. This is one of the great exploring nations of mankind. And space is the last great frontier. And your country, though you don't seem to recognize it, is really making an important impact on that. ESRON, look it up, support it, tell your politicians to put a bit more pennies into it. All right? Well done.
Yes, and bring some good cheese in space. That's what we need.
I'm going to do a little rant. Well, not such a rant, it's a sort of more like a promotion. For the last 15 years, my wife and I have been running a charity. Some of you may have heard me talk about this already, so excuse me. But it's a charity for an orphaned school in Uganda. Over the 15 years, we've rebuilt the whole school. All the new buildings are now in place. New kitchen, new nursery. It's called, and perhaps you would all make a note of this, the website is called UKHF. That stands for United Kingdom Healing Focus. If you go to the website, you can see how you can contribute to the school and help our project. I'm one of the patrons now. I've rather retired from running this project, and Helen Mirren is the other patron. One other thing connected with this, there's a connection here with Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's a group of wonderful German people who formed a club called Adventurers Summit. This is something else for you to look up. Adventurers, with an S on the end, Summit. All one word, lowercase, .org. And they run an adventurous weekend for people who are inspired by Indiana Jones. For instance, they go cave potholing, they go whitewater rafting, and then at the end of their weekend, which happens usually about once a year, they've missed this year, usually once a year they all get together in a castle near Dusseldorf, have a splendid banquet at the end of the weekend for the group, and we're all hoping for the group that John is going to come and join us next year, 2025. He doesn't like his food is the problem. We have to cajole him. Anyway, if you would all...
He's just pointing out the fact that I let him down last year, and I can't remember why.
What didn't you eat?
Well, I couldn't make it, and
I'm only kidding
you'll
him.
never forgive me.
No.
Is there any way we can shut that door? Is it possible?
No, it's not possible.
No, it's not.
Alas,
okay then.
alas.
Okay.
Sorry. Never mind. Anyway, UKHF.
Well, is it possible we could shut that door?
There's no noise coming in there.
Good thing, because those are the toilets.
Okay.
I can't hear that either.
All right, well,
Anyway, so on with the motley, John. What should we do?
UK
A song?
I'm gonna
A
jump
dance?
into the audience.
What?
Yeah, I'm gonna jump here into the audience. I've done this before. Yes.
I'll stand up with you.
We've managed to drive him off the stage anyway. All right, now we can
get to the question here.
We've been together now for 40 years, and it don't seem a day too much. There ain't a lady living in the land as I swap for my dear old Dutch. No, there ain't a lady living in the land as I stop for my dear old Dutch.
Who needs the
That's the only verse of it I can remember anyway.
Too.
Who needs the Beatles when we have John and Paul here on stage?
Exactly.
Hello, beautifully sung. Thank you for being here. I have a question, especially for John Rhys-Davies. First of all, I mean Gimli, son of Glory, and I just respect your work. The masterpiece you added to in combination with Peter Jackson and the whole group. And I don't believe a movie like that will ever be made, so thank you so much. There is a lot of unreleased footage that has never been released or added to the extended versions. So I've always wondered what your take is on that. Do you think that it added any value to the story or the lore or the story for the dwarves?
Are we talking about Treebeard or Gimli? Or what Treebeard brings to the story?
No, I mean there is a lot of unreleased footage that I don't know of, and I was wondering if it added any value for the story or the story of Gimli.
Well, unreleased footage. Well, if it's unreleased, I haven't seen it either. So, how can I tell you what, whether it has any bearing or not? My guess is that there is always extra footage, but isn't there an extended release out already? That's probably got all the really good stuff in there. But there's probably some unreleased footage of Raiders as well, isn't there?
Well, I have no idea, but I doubt it somehow. I mean, all these years later, they would have found everything, wouldn't they? They are archaeologists after all.
Ah, yes. And you are the worst sort of archaeologist. You steal from other archaeologists. My friend, this is not good. And God will punish you. And did. Ba-boom.
Bravo, yes, thank you.
Here.
Okay.
Hi, this is for John. Hi, I'm over here. I'm Tim from California. Recently, Disney just released the new Shogun, and I was wondering if you had any anecdotes about your time with Richard Chamberlain in Shogun yourself, which was a great show in 1980.
Ah, the original Shogun, yes. Richard Chamberlain, Toshiro Mifune, and a host of fabulous Japanese actors and actresses. Frankie Sakai. Frankie Sakai is the cruel, sadistic torturer and boiler of British sailors. Frankie Sakai was a comedian and known for being one of the funniest and finest comedians in Japan. They didn't believe that he could possibly be taken seriously as an actor, and by God, he was magnificent. Mifune himself was going through a difficult divorce and was being very much attacked in the Japanese newspapers, and so he was very angry and very quiet, but he sort of was completely immersed in his part. I remember Richard Chamberlain, who was the loveliest man on the planet, saying, he did it again today, and I said, "What, Richard?" And he said, "Every morning he comes in and I say to him, 'Good morning, Mr. Mifune,' and he goes, 'Mwah.' And so, 'Mwah' was sort of all we ever got from him, really. But we did know that he was going through a pretty difficult time at the same time. Chamberlain himself, I suppose some of you don't even know who Richard Chamberlain was. Richard Chamberlain was a young man, almost fresh from university, and he was cast as a role in a show called Dr. Kildare, and he was Dr. Kildare. He was incredibly handsome, the show was incredibly popular, and there were times when he was receiving 3,500 proposals of marriage a week. That's how much of a star he was. He told me a wonderful story once about how scared he was to be working with the older actors who were hugely experienced. You know, they like to come in, they like to rehearse, they like to record on Wednesday and Thursday so they could have the weekend off playing golf. And he knew he had to know his part perfectly, just to keep up with these cynical old actors who were looking at this youngster who suddenly was the most important actor in America. And he was given a script that was based on a new drug for the heart. And he took the script home and worked on it, and the drug was named, and he pronounced it epinephrine. And I mean, he was using this word epinephrine in virtually every sentence. Give him 20 milliliters of epinephrine. He came in and they started to shoot the show, and somebody came up to him and said, "It's not epinephrine, it's epinephrine. Epinephrine." Now he got it in his head like a worm, and every time he came to this word, you know, he would go, It went on so much that they went 3 days over in the shoot. I mean, that is a catastrophe in terms of prime time screening and things like that. And he said, I've never been more mortified. All these guys who are, you know, accustomed to going and having Friday off to play golf would be looking at me and then going, no, 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 try it again, Rick. Try it again. What is it? Epinephrine, yes. Yes, give him 20 milligrams of when it came to Shogun, he was the most superb leader of the show that I have ever known. He taught me what it is to lead a company. Always to be positive, never to be negative. There was one day when we got to the south and the first day we were spending on this galley and no one had built a galley in Japan for 300 years. It was top heavy. There were no waves, but there was that swell. And the boat was going boom, 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 all the day. The sun was hitting the water and bouncing off the water, the still water, straight into our eyeballs. Within a few minutes, the crew started feeling ill. The actors started feeling ill. The director was directing lying on the floor like this. He'd taken 3 Dramamines and he was going, okay, roll the camera. Yeah, cut, let's go again. Chuy Elizondo, the lighting cameraman, a tough little Mexican-American, one of the toughest men I've known. He would finish the shot, cut, he would walk to the edge of the boat and go, and come back and shoot the next thing. People were dropping, and we were all, by the 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we were all looking at Richard Chamberlain for him to say, oh, come on, guys, this is above and beyond the call of duty. Let's break it up and let's go home. Actually, morale was so low because we had lost 5 weeks. We'd meant to be in Tokyo for 3 weeks. We'd been there for 8 weeks. We'd lost 5 weeks already. Morale was rock bottom. And everyone was sick. And Richard just sat down between shots. He'd put his umbrella up and take his fan out and go just fan like that. And when somebody threw up in his eye line, he would just avert his eye line and just like that. He just pretended that there was nothing wrong. And because he wouldn't give in, we couldn't give in. And we finished the day and we came back the next day and it wasn't quite as bad. And it came back the next day and it got a little bit better. And just that quality that a great star has and a great leader of a company has. It was one of the most important lessons that I've ever learned. I love that man. This side idolatry. I'm sorry, I've gone on too long.
Yes, we are here on this side, yes. He'll say it in Dutch, but I'll translate it in English.
Wat is jullie favoriete Indiana Jones film?
Yeah, from all the Indiana Jones movies, which one is your favorite?
Well, it's a ridiculous question, isn't it? I'm sorry, but is there any competition? I don't think so. Has to be Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I think it has to be. And may I say, without being just a sycophant, really, isn't that? Is that what I'm?
No, it's an epithelium.
Epithelium. Okay. You're into orchids these days, are you? Very good.
Well, that's
let me say that if you look at that wonderful film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, the finest performance of all in those very fine performances actually is Paul's, I think. It's the finest, most urbane, polished performance. And it has a European richness there that the film actually rather desperately needs at that point. I think it's a great performance.
Well, thank you very much, John. You have said it every time we meet. Yes. John, as you can see, is a very kind and very generous friend. But without a doubt, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Is there any question about that? No.
Well, you know, I used to say to Mr. Spielberg every time I saw him, I'd say, Stephen, 1 and 3, really the best ones. 2 and 4, not quite there. What is there in 1 and 3 that doesn't exist in 2? And then they did that to me in the 5th one. Oh God, don't talk about it.
Yeah, so this question is more for your characters Salah and Belloc. So what would be an artifact of mythological value that Salah would love to find with Indiana Jones, and then what is the same object, what would for Belloc be the perfect thing to steal from him?
Let me tell you, my friends, there is a story. You all know the story of Leda and the swan.
Yes.
You do?
I do.
Leda was ravished by Zeus in the form of a swan. And she gave birth to eggs. In the first egg, there was Castor and Pollux. In the second one, there was Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra. But it is little known that there was a third egg, and that third egg has not hatched. And we know that Castor and Pollux had a disastrous effect, but Helen of Troy and Clytemnestra brought about the fall of Troy and the fall of the house of Atreus, wasn't it? But when the third egg hatches, new horrors will fall upon the earth. And I happen to know that there is a rumor of the existence of that egg. And I hope that perhaps it can be retrieved and perhaps destroyed.
Very good answer. I just have to say that if there are any incipient archaeologists amongst you, start egg hunting.
That is what the whole point of the Easter egg hunt is for.
Ah, that's where it comes from.
It is to create a new generation of egg-finding hunters.
But now that we're talking about archaeology, was archaeology something that fascinated you before you starred in Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No?
Not at all.
Yes, actually.
Yes.
I've always had an interest in history, and it seems to me you cannot understand the present unless you understand the past. One of the things that I am going to do this year is start to try and shake the money tree for a project, a film that I want to make, that I have written, and it is about your ancestors. And at the start of the Ice Age, about 120 years ago, there were probably 5 or at least 5, possibly 6 species of human being. Homo habilis is still there, I think. Neanderthal, obviously, Denisovan, the hobbits, Homo floresiensis, ourselves, and there is another one that we have no physical evidence of except in the the sort of strange alien elements in the blood of some Pacific Islanders. There is a trace of a genetic inheritance there that we don't quite have any other evidence of. At the end of the Ice Age, there is only one. There is only mankind, Homo sapiens. Why? Because the Ice Age was such a damned hard time that only those who could get enough food managed to survive long enough to reproduce. And somewhere in our lineage, somebody very, very smart saw that that insect and that tree and that bird led to those bees and that little bit of honey which will enable me to survive a little bit longer. Inadvertently, we selected for intelligence. Intelligence demands a bigger brain. A bigger brain demands a bigger skull to protect it. A bigger skull has to pass through a birth canal. And that kills women. I don't really know about the age of people before the Ice Age. I suspect that they may have lived relatively long lives. But as far as I can tell, up until the end of the Ice Age, you will find their male skeletons in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even their 60s. You almost never find a female skeleton over the age of 30. The life expectancy of women up until the end of the Stone Age, which is probably only about 40 generations ago. The life expectancy of a woman up until the end of the Stone Age is 21 years on average. We are descended from teenage girls who did whatever it took to make sure that this baby survives. And they are, by any standards, heroes. When I wrote the script, I also discovered something else. Men traditionally have dismissed the efforts of women, have disparaged the intellects of women. Why? Well, in writing this script, I actually discovered why. The truth of the matter is that only for about 40 generations have we ever known grown women. The men lived longer. The men married teenagers and mated with teenagers. Now, a teenage girl, I'm the father of a teenage girl. Wonderful, remarkable, assured, social, and all that. But I don't look to her for great intellectual profundity. I don't really see her sort of, debating the three-body problem or anything like that. A 17-year-old boy would have said, come on, let's go out and kill a mammoth. The 34, 35-year-old man would say, hey, why don't we just go out and kill a couple of horses? Darn sight easier. The truth is, men did not ever encounter grown women. The women they were accustomed to dealing with were teenage girls. And that is why men cannot read a woman's mind. We have spent 100,000 years as men looking at each other and saying, oh, he's strong, he's tough. I meet this stranger, can I hunt with him? He has interestingly strong weapons. Together we can do well in hunting. But if I turn my back on him, will he put a spear in my back? We need to try and gauge how trustworthy the other person is. And we still get it wrong. There's still con men who rip us off left, right, and center. We cannot tell as men what a woman is thinking. we have no epigenetic experience of it. And a woman can have that look on her face and you cannot read what she is thinking. And of course they always imagine that if we really love them, we know what they're thinking. Not true. Ladies, you have to make it quite clear because you're dealing with pretty dumb animals. But that's the reason why men have deprecated women's contributions, and they are enormous. Somebody pointed out the other day that Churchill wrote a history of the English-speaking people, and there are only 27 women mentioned in it, really, which is a somewhat brief history of the English-speaking people, isn't it? It's really English-speaking men. But there's a wonderful book by Philippa Gregory, who's a marvelous historian, out, which really redresses the whole role that women have played in history. I do advise you to have a look at it. Yes? Okay, well, it was okay. Was it? Good. All right, carry on.
Just a footnote to that, I would say, on the contrary, that is one man's point of view. And I would have said, I know plenty of women who I know exactly what they're thinking when I look at them. I think. Perhaps I'm wrong, but it's got me this far.
And he's done rather well.
A question from here.
What is your favorite movie you ever played in, John, and both of you actually?
A favorite movie you have out of all your oeuvre?
The whole thing?
The whole thing?
I'm very fond of a quite long, overlong series I did, which I think is still on Netflix, about the war crimes trial at the end of the Second World War in Tokyo. It's called Tokyo Trial on Netflix. I recommend it if you want a slow, long viewing with very good history in it.
Tokyo Trial.
Tokyo Trial.
Yes.
Oh, my favorite film?
Yeah.
The next one.
The next one. Always the next one.
Hello. John, you're a really good storyteller. Do you have any favorite moment or scene or behind the scenes during the shooting of Lord of the Rings?
Any favorite moments during the shooting?
That one? We're behind a battlement, and of course Gimli can't see what the enemy is doing, and he's standing beside the elf and he's trying to peer over, and the elf says, shall I get you a box to stand on?
Hi, my grandpa is such a big fan of you guys, and his birthday is coming up. Can you maybe wish him a happy birthday for his birthday?
What is your grandfather, is it?
Yes.
What is his name?
William.
Willem.
Willem, yes.
Very briefly, shall we? Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday dear William, happy birthday to you.
What are your favorite lines in the Indiana Jones movie?
Any favorite lines in Indiana Jones that you recollect and that you're rather fond of?
You go first.
Indi, why does the floor move? Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Somebody was wearing that on their T-shirt yesterday. Are they here today? My favourite line from Raiders of the Lost Ark is, it's not the years, it's the mileage.
That's Indi talking to Marion about his wounds.
In the ship.
Yeah.
A line that Harrison made up on the day.
So, here.
So this mainly pertains to Mr. Rhys-Davies. What would be the most challenging part of recording Lord of the Rings as Gimli, someone who is quite short?
Oh, the hours spent in makeup, of course. That was the only challenging part. The rest came easy. But all that makeup, and all that costume, yes. I did ask if I'd go back for The Hobbit, and I said, are you kidding me? If ever you see
How
me,
long was that makeup?
I was in the chair, really, for about 8 hours a day. 5 hours to get it on, basically, and then touch-ups. Now, a touch-up normally is, all right, cut, and let's go again, and in comes makeup, and you're ready to go, Mr. Freeman. With me, it was 20 minutes, and the crew would sit down and go, oh, God. Yeah.
Hi, just to get back to you about the script that you wrote, might I play a small role in the movie, please?
She's auditioning.
I would love to. I've done some theater.
Of course you can, of course you can.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, there are people who actually have probably darker skin slightly and blue eyes.
I have neither.
You can do that. Well done. Okay.
All right. It's 2 or 3 hours in makeup, and then
absolutely,
she'll get there eventually. Let's see. Yes.
I have one question. My favorite movie was the third one, and I wonder how was it working with the late Sean Connery?
Did you ever work with Sean?
No, I never did. I never met him.
He was the alpha male of all time, you know. And when those rather thin lips passed slightly, and those eyes crinkled up a little bit, you know, there wasn't a woman in the world who didn't go, "Oh, Sean." A great star. One of the two great English stars of his generation. Michael Caine, of course. I think, and Michael just gets better and better, I think. You got any stories about
Michael?
About Sean?
No, I never met him. I don't know any of them.
Well, we can still gossip about them, even if we haven't met them, can't we? Could you actually say that in a manner that we could possibly hear it? Speak into the microphone.
Sorry.
Hold it close to your mouth. What is your name?
Maya.
Very good. What is your question?
My question is, what do you miss the most about being on set?
What do I miss most about being on sets?
Yes.
I think it's the bacon sandwiches at about 8:30 in the morning.
It's just the magic time. Everyone should be in the film industry for at least 6 months of your life. Why? Because the film industry really doesn't care a damn about you, except can you do your job? If you can't do the job, we are not interested in your excuses. We don't care that your car crashed and you killed 3 people. You weren't here on time to work. You know, you've held up an entire picture. This movie is going to cost $20 million to make. Let's amortize that over a day. That's $100,000 a day. That's a 12-hour day, and we haven't been able to work for 4 hours. That is about $40,000 you have cost this company. Go away, don't come back. The great thing about film and filming is it doesn't matter who you are, can you deliver the goods? And there are no excuses. And if you can learn that lesson when you're young, and learn that you are there to serve the company, to serve the director, to serve the investors, to serve the director and the producer and your fellow actors, and above all, the audience, then you take away something special. So just be aware of that. When you're employed, you have an obligation. They have an obligation to pay you. You have an obligation to deliver the goods. There was a wonderful colonel in the United States Army the other day who was reported as to saying to all his troops, he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself today, what am I going to do for the American taxpayer? And at the end of the day, what will you have done for the people who pay you, the American taxpayer?" That's one sensible way that we should look at ourselves in our working lives. I missed the stage, but you go now.
My bit was about the bacon sandwich, which I stick by the way.
There's another microphone. There's another microphone just behind you on the couch. Final question though here.
Hello, is this working better than Paul's? Oh, good.
Did you guys take any memories from the movies, any artifacts back from the movies at home? And which one is your nicest one?
Did you take anything home from the props?
Well, you mean apart from the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant itself? Absolutely nothing.
But which one is your favorite then?
I don't know. I put them in storage and I can't find the damn things anyway.
And Paul?
Oh, I don't have any. No, I've never taken a thing.
And that's the truth of it. In those days, we didn't take away props. I did take away the tie that Salah wears in Raiders of the Lost Ark, I think. I was living with a lady in California, and I came home one day and found that I was remarkably short of clothing. And I said, I appear to have lost a number of clothes. And she said, yes, new rule, if you haven't worn it for a year, it's going to Goodwill. I said, what about that tie? And she said, that awful tie with a little red tie with that funny little white star in the middle. Horrible, nobody would be seen to wear that. I said, that's the only prop that I have from Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh. She didn't last long.
Well, that's the time we have for now here on the main stage for this moment with the audience, who was kind of lovely.
They were wonderful.
Wonderful! And the wonderful Paul Freeman and John Rhys-Davies!
You're all wonderful, and thank you for supporting us in our old age.
Oh yeah, and remember, the Dutch space program needs your support, and UKHF needs your support just as much. Adventurer Summit. There you go. Thank you very much, audience. Thank you, John Rhys-Davies and Paul Freeman. Some excellent stories there. Was het leuk?